Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Aspie Bridge. Thank you for your patience last week. Internet is always a joy when we're trying to figure out how to get it to best present itself. And last week, Wendy and I were having a heck of a time trying to give you a clear picture. And this week is very important. This is the week that tells you whether or not you're going to make it or break it by impressing the interviewer to get into that job that you really want. And if we had had a garbled, incongruent picture of the podcast, you weren't going to get the best version of us. And so rather than trying to get through it, Wendy and I figured it was too important of a subject that we could take a week off, get everything back in focus. And Wendy assures me that her internet is great today.
Well, I have a new system. I dumped my old internet company and I got a new internet company, and now we can do anything all at the same time. Everybody's streaming different things and the internet works.
So, yay! Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I am too. It was terrible.
And when the internet plays such an important part in our jobs,
yes,
in our work, whether or not we're at home working or we're working at a location, we all know those cash registers that go down when we don't least expect them. So having a strong internet is important. Now, before we get into our topic, with all the awesome autistic individuals that are out in the world, the late diagnosed autistic individuals telling you how their life completely changed once they learned about autism, such as Paul Miguelef of Autism on the Inside, and Orion Kelly talks a lot about his late diagnosis. Samantha Stein, who's in the Netherlands, and Sarah Hendricks in the UK, and Temple Grandin here in the US. And we're going to be talking a lot about her today because her work and her interviewing plays a big part in what we're going to talk about today. And there are so many others that are telling you what the traits of autism are. The function of the Mission Bridge, the mission of the bridge builders, Aspie Bridge, is to tell you that we can connect you with wonderful people who can help you go across this bridge back into society, so that if you're feeling that, hey, I have the intellectual capability, I have the communication capability, but I can't get a job, we have a number of people who can help you get a job. And today we're talking about, what if there were alternatives to the Q&A that most interviewers use? What if we as autistic individuals were given the choice? Now, I'm not saying go in and ask for the choice. Excuse me. I'm saying perhaps we could question if there are alternatives, but we can't go in and demand an alternative. That's an important key. We can ask them if there are alternatives to the way that they're willing to see how we would fit into the job. Because I can tell you personally, I could have had many jobs that I could really get into that, excuse me, I could have had many jobs I could have gone into, because I was playing a mind game, or it felt like a mind game with interviewers, I didn't know how much to say or how little to say, what to say or what not to say. And as you know, I brought my dear friend Wendy back to help us out with that. Wendy, how do we as autistic individuals who do have communication skills know how to play this interview game, this mind game? Because we don't know how much to say or how little to say or what not to say or what to say.
That's an excellent question. And that's why when I was hiring, I've hired a number of autistic therapists in the adult autism assessment group practice. And we always gave them a list of the questions, like a week in advance. And we never strayed. We only asked them the questions that we told them this is what we're going to ask them, so they could be prepared. But as you said, most people are not going to do that or say, let's have an alternate to the interview. It would be great, but most won't. So it's good to be prepared for the kinds of questions that you might be asked and to know, it's like you said, how much, how little. One question that is often asked at the beginning is, tell us a little bit about yourself. And of course, I could go back and talk about where I went to elementary school, where I went to high school, how many brothers and sisters I have. I could talk forever about myself, that wouldn't be important to them.
Mm.
So what they really want to know is what relates to the job. So tell me about yourself. Well, my major was this that relates to what I'm being hired for. My last job was this, and just talk about things that are really on target for that job. When you do your homework and go to the website and find out about the company, there's a number of things that you can learn. Let's see. For instance, find out what their mission is and what is it that they want to do. Like I think Starbucks, the mission is not to sell coffee. That's what they do. But their mission is, and you know it better than I do, it's about helping people,
Connecting people, yes,
connecting people.
connections.
Yeah, making connections with people. So if you know that about them, you can say, I love making connections with people. And I would love to do that by making sure they have the right cup of coffee in the morning and promptly when they drive through, if that's the job you're applying for. When they say, why do you want this job? You're not going to say, because I need money. That's true. And I know many people are very, very honest and think, I'm never going to lie. And I respect that. But there's a number of true things that exist in the world that I'm not saying out loud right now. Like I'm not saying, oh, I see, there's no bird at the bird feeder right now, because who cares? It's true. There is no bird at that bird feeder.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean I have to say it out loud.
Mhm.
So if you think about, like you said, I want to make connections with people, if that's what, their mission is, or I want to help people better access technology, if it's a tech job. Find out what it is that they want, and then find the truth within you that aligns with that. So you're not, but you know that there's a truth in there. If you think about it and you prepare in advance, you can find that part of you that really wants to work there. Not that just needs a job anywhere, although that is true for most of us. We all just need a job. But that doesn't make them feel good about it. If you notice on the website that they give to a certain charity, and a lot of big companies, they do support charities. So you might want to say, I really respect that you give to the Boys and Girls Clubs because it means a lot to me to give back to community. Or I respect that you give to rainforest, save the rainforest, because I think we all need to help save the planet. So that lets them know that you know who they are, you know the good things about them, and that you agree with that. Now, they're going to ask your strengths and weaknesses, right? They always do. And don't go overboard in any direction. And again, going back to, you don't have to say every true thing that comes into your mind. You can plan in advance and prepare how you will respond to that. For weaknesses, some people used to say something like, oh, I just work too hard and I give too much, and that's my weakness. And nobody buys that. That's like, it's kind of a slimy, I'm making up this fake strength, but I'm calling it a weakness.
Right. I do have a quick question for you, and
Yeah.
this is the one that would always catch me up, and I know it would catch up many, many autistic individuals. Do you multitask well? And I would be honest, in one of my interviews, I said, I prefer to make sure that each person's needs are met before I go on to the next one. Next person, because I don't want them to feel like they are hurrying them along. But for some reason, that that answer was not satisfactory to them. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, wouldn't you want each customer to feel like they had your full attention? And so maybe I dodged the multitasking question, but maybe I felt that in my mind, because I was in a bank, I wanted to serve each person's money carefully and each person's needs carefully instead of getting money switched in with the next customer's money. So I thought that was a great answer. What do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people value multitasking in an employee because they think they will get a lot of work done. They will be doing everything all at once, like an octopus, just spinning all the plates. And they want to get as much as they can, wring them out of out of their employees. A study, at least one study has shown, and I don't remember where it was, the internet knows, that showed that people don't multitask well. People who say I'm good at multitasking, they can do two things, but they're not very good at either one if they're doing them at the same time. But if they've asked you that question, you don't want to throw it back at them and say, well, multitasking is no good, because they probably won't hire you. So what can you say? If they ask you if you're good at multitasking, you can say, if multitasking is required on this job, that's something I would like to become better at.
Improve. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's something that I would like to work on. However, my preference is, I don't know if you want to say this or not, but you could say my preference is to really do the best job I can on one task and then shift to the next task rather than trying to do two at once in case I miss something. But if it's important to multitask, that's something that I personally would like to work on getting better at, work on improving.
And
Because
question to ask them or to tell them that I prefer to concentrate on one customer at a time.
yeah,
Is that satisfactory?
I can't get in the mind of that employer. Um, if I were hiring someone to work with customers, I would want you to just work with one customer. And if somebody else is coming up and trying to cut in line and ask you a question while you're working with this person who waited in line wants your attention and they deserve it. It's a tricky one, but if they ask that question, then you've learned something about them.
Right,
That
right.
doesn't mean don't work there. But just be aware that that's something that they might want you to get better at.
Is it ever okay to say to them that one of my strengths, and as I say, I'm asking some of these questions because I've had the same questions, and maybe you, the listeners, have had the same questions too. And so my question would be, is it ever okay to say to them that I do well with when my job needs to change? I like to have explanations ahead of time than at the moment it happens. Is that a weakness or is that a strength? I mean, how can we word that so that the interviewer knows we don't want to be micromanaged, but we don't want to be transitioned, because those of us who are autistic have a tough time of being transitioned from one task to another without a lot of explanation, because we often take it that we've done something wrong. So how can we word it that we would like to have advance notice of changes?
That's a tricky one. And you might not want to bring it up in the interview while they're still deciding if they want to hire you, because that might be for them. If they're thinking, I've got 100 people, I need to easily, quickly go through not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, and narrow it down. So if you say something to which they can say, okay, not you, then you've kind of put yourself out of the field. You might want to bring that up later. And I like what you said about as a strength. My strength is of ability to focus on the task in front of me. I do best if I'm given advance notice before there's going to be a change. If you're disclosing your autism, you can say that this is part of the disability. if you're not disclosing your autism, you don't have to. You just say, I'm the kind of person who does best if I can really focus on my job. And I like to have advance notice before there's going to be a change. But I wouldn't bring that up in the interview.
Hmm.
Just because, yeah, we're putting our best foot forward.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
When,
Okay, let me just
oh,
switch. Oh, go
can I
ahead.
just
Right.
talk about their
Yes, of
weaknesses?
course.
This is one more
Yes.
thing. When they ask you about your weaknesses, don't go on and on about it. What they really want to know is, can you change and learn if you make a mistake? So you can tell them, plan in advance what you're going to say. I was once in a job where um, I, made this mistake, or I wasn't good at this. And then I learned this, and now I'm getting better at that. Or you might say something like, because I get so focused on the job in front of me, sometimes I miss social cues and I might come across as socially awkward. It's something I'm aware of and I'm working on it. Especially
No.
if it's someone that you know that other people think that you're socially awkward, just say it out front. Don't let them find out later. Just
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, just because I'm so focused on the job, I can come across as socially awkward. Now you've said it and they're going, oh, it's a socially awkward person. We all know socially awkward people. That's fine. But it's not them going, why are they socially awkward? It's like, oh, we know this. Socially awkward, and I'm working on it.
That's
They
good.
always want to know that you're working on a thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense. And for me, and I know a lot of people may be like this, maybe not. I want them to know how they're going to expect me to perform after I get the job. So I don't want to say something to get the job and then be completely incongruent to that particular skill,
Uh-huh.
because I think that can quickly, I think just, oh, you're just saying something to get the job and now you're going to act completely differently. I don't think that that's integrity. That's the word I'm looking for.
You don't want to lie. You don't want to pretend that you can do a thing that you can't, that you're not going to be working on. But you also want to give the best impression so that you can get your foot in that door. Now, if they offer you a job, you're not obligated to take the job.
Mm-hmm.
They can make you a job offer and you can say, great, I have a couple questions. And get your questions asked and let them know this is how I work best. But bearing in mind that if you make it sound like you're going to be too much trouble, then they might say, oh, never mind.
Oh, yeah, very true.
Because if they
Very.
have hundreds of people that are applying for their jobs and somebody looks like they're going to be a problem, they might not give you the chance that you deserve. So that it can be tricky. And also it depends a lot on whether or not you're disclosing your disability. If they say, okay, we want to be able to say we hired so many disabled people, and so we want you here, we want you to stay with us, and we'll make accommodations. Or if you're saying, this is private, I'm not telling them. And a lot of people are feeling that way. And I absolutely respect both sides of that. We're in difficult times where it's like, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think it's a good thing, but does the employer think it's a good thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. When I did the application for my current job, I did not disclose it. But then during the interview itself, I felt comfortable. And I think what happened was my smile and my energy spoke louder than my problems. And I think
Yes.
that helps. And I've had a number of people who have said, great energy, great smile. But then I've also lost the job too,
Hmm.
because someone came in with either more experience or what have you. But it's always nice to know that your energy is can help you get the job, and a smile can help you get a job. Even if you're not going to smile the entire day, all day long while you're at the job, still walking in with a positive energy
Yes.
is going to be one step closer. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. That positive energy. And some people will, like before the interview, they'll go like into a bathroom or a private place and they'll do, I think you call it a power pose or a superhero pose. Put your hands on your hips, stand up straight, take a deep breath, just because your whole body gets the message of, I'm powerful, I'm strong, I'm invincible. And then when you walk in, your head will be up, your shoulders will be down. You won't be like this. You'll have that smile you were talking about, and they will see it the way they did when you were in your interview. They'll see that you are confident, even if you're not confident inside. We're not always confident, but you can portray it. You can show your best self.
That sounds great. Yeah. Now, a lot of people that are maybe listening to this is like, oh, great. You can communicate. I don't communicate like that. Let's talk about the binder for a few moments.
Yes.
Temple Grandin got her jobs just by having pictures of what her thoughts were on how to bring her work into her jobs. And that's fine too, is having an idea of a picture or a plan, a piece of paper that shows a plan. Let's say you're going into an elementary school position and you'd like to structure your day on a piece of paper so that they know that you have a structure. And that's what Temple Grandin did with her beef product, her beef processing, with her cow processing diagram to show that the animals were not going to be stressed out. She had this paper that showed how the animals were going to be eased into the process, and that got her the job. What do you know about that?
Well, as I have read, she never got any of her jobs from her interview. She was not that good at interviewing. And either it would be, here's my portfolio, like you said, the pictures and the binder, here's what I've done. Or somebody else who knows her would go to them and say, just hire her. She's good. So it's great if you know someone. We don't all have that, but it can help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the jobs that I walked into for a daycare center, I walked in with a binder like this. It had my resume on the front that showed that I was organized, and it had a number of pieces in there. Just walking in with a binder can be very handy. Now, some of the things that I put into my binder, as you saw on the front page, was a resume.
Yes.
But I also put a cover letter that I would have written to show them that this is the way I communicate. And just like the plan of strategy, that's another idea. Or maybe you create things. You can show the plans in there. Another thing might be if you went to like a program where you get a certificate, you could put the certificate in there.
Yes.
And one other thing that I like to put in there is a reference from someone who knew you, a letter reference. So if you're thinking about leaving the current job you're in, but they like you, go ahead and ask for a letter. You can always say to them, gee, you know what? I'm finding that there might be a position in the future that might suit my love of blank, blank, blank. I'm wondering if you could speak to how well I worked with you.
If I could just say, I would do that after your next job is all lined up and you've got
of course,
if you're still just looking for a job, that's not the time to ask for the letter.
No.
But you can get, teachers that have been in training programs, people that you've worked for in the past that you had a good relationship with. That's a great idea. 1 to 3 recommendation letters in there. It's a great idea. And that shows them your organization. And if the cover letter, each time you go somewhere, you probably do a new cover letter that's specific to them, that talks about that job. And you might even change what you put in the binder based on which job you're applying for. So they feel like, oh, this is what she wants. this is not just a random, I'm going to try to get any job anywhere. This is
Mhm.
like, you're talking about daycare programs, or you're talking about retail, or whatever it is. That's a
Yeah.
great idea, that binder. I love that.
And I think sometimes maybe an interview came up at the last notice. Just even taking a binder with your critical information in it
Yes.
is enough to show, whoa, she's not just showing up. She's showing up prepared.
Yeah.
That
Now,
can go a long way.
yeah, and I will say, I've been in interviews on both sides of the table, as an interviewer, working for the public schools. Sometimes there's like 3 or 4 people across the table from you. Um, and sometimes somebody has brought all their portfolios and passed them out, and we don't really look at them. It's like we'll glance at them and set them aside because we're there. Our time is to spend asking questions. Don't feel bad if they don't sit right down and read it and go over it and talk to you about it, because they have their, plan of what's supposed to happen in the interview, but they know that you did that. They know you created it. They know that you were proud of it. So don't feel bad if you don't get a lot of feedback on it. The fact that you gave them a portfolio or a binder, that says a lot about you and how prepared you are to do the job.
That brings up an interesting question. I have seen people walk in with one for each person. I've seen people walk in with one.
Mhm.
And I would love to know if you would recommend just having one, or because they might not look at it and for the main person or the main team, or should they go to the expense of making up multiple copies?
That's a tricky question. If it's expensive, if you've got like color copies and you're going to put it in a big 3-ring binder, you might just want to bring one. If you can do it more economically, get some cheap little like folder covers at you know, Costco or Target or wherever one gets these things, dollar store, I don't know. If it's not going to cost you too much, then yeah, have several, but don't spend all your life savings on this. Don't, I've seen people and they were going for, pretty good paying jobs. So maybe they figured they could do it, but it was like a whole big fancy thing. And,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be you, this is who you are. And yeah, and if it costs too much to do it, just have one. And if they don't look like they're going to take it with them, then maybe you could take it back for the next person. And if they keep it, great.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Let's shift gears a little bit, Wendy.
Yeah.
What if an interviewer said, the ball is in your court? We want you to come in and just tell all about yourselves, and we're going to make a decision based on what you want to share.
Hmm. I haven't seen that happen, honestly. There is often open-ended, like tell us about yourself, but they usually will have some questions. They will often ask at the end, do you have any questions for us? Now, when I was interviewing for jobs, I would think about it, and I would usually say something like, I think you've answered all my questions. I don't have any. But what I'm reading is it's better to have a question. They want to know that you're thinking about them. So what kind of question could you ask them? One might be, I don't know, maybe this would be too awkward, but why did the previous person leave? Or I don't know, can you think of a question that you would ask them? So this was
Um,
for me. I can't always think of something for them.
that's a good question. I guess a question I might have is this a single decision round of interviews, or will there be more interviews that I will be coming to? And can I share more of myself in the following interviews?
It's a great question, as what are the next steps? Will there be another interview? I like that because that shows that you're there for it.
Yeah, because I had a bank one where there were 3 interviews at different levels. And so it would be nice to know how much I can prepare for the next one if I go to the next round.
Yeah.
Another thing I would love to see happen, as I say, I mean, I brought up that question about the presentation. I would love to see everyone in the future, and maybe I'm the torchbearer here. Maybe I'm a torchbearer here. Wouldn't it be great, Wendy, if we did get a choice on the type of interview that we were part of? Now, for me, I would love to do a presentation because I do communicate and I can put together a PowerPoint to show how my work would be relevant.
Yeah.
I also think that for some, that they would prefer to be given a task. Let me show you how well I can do this job because I don't speak as well. But wouldn't it be wonderful for inclusivity? If we could say, or we could start a movement where there were three types of interviews, where you could choose the Q&A, you could choose a self-run presentation where they could invite all the people that they wanted to come to see
Mhm.
the presentation that were relevant to the job, or maybe even a task interview where they could see how well you worked. This would be wonderful for the individual who is super focused, but doesn't have the words, doesn't have the communication skills, but wants to be a part of it and is more than capable of being part of that program. They just don't have the communication skills to measure up to a neurotypical's communication skills.
Yeah, I love that. And I've heard you share this idea before about a presentation instead of an interview, and I think that's the best idea in the world. And it just occurred to me, you could, excuse me, you could do a presentation and film it, put it up on YouTube, and include a link in your portfolio, in your binder. And
Okay.
and then they could click on the link and watch your whole thing. I don't think anybody else will be doing that. I mean, maybe everybody who's listening, I think we should all do it. But yeah, even if they don't offer that as an option, and maybe someday they will, I hope they will. But start it off by saying, excuse me, here's my, thank you for coming to my YouTube video.
Yes, so I
And
would think that that would be a way to go about giving them that extra step toward who you are.
yeah,
You might even be able to say that in addition to telling you who I am, I would love to draw your attention to a YouTube or this recording I've prepared for you so that you can see more of who I am. Sometimes interviews are we allowed to say interviews make us nervous?
I think they make most people nervous.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
is an ordinary thing. But
Yeah.
you can say that I wonder if we couldn't say to people that I prepared a calm version of a presentation
Hmm.
for you to view me as well in case my interview does not show up as strong? Or is that already putting us into a less than category?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that part. I would just say, I've made this video um, about why I want this job. And then I would tailor make that video for that particular job and say, hi, interview team at Starbucks or at whatever school district, so that they know you want them. Now, you might make another one for every place that you interview. You probably
Mm-hmm.
should, but in each one, you say hi to those people. Then they know you've got it on the ball. You don't even have to say, I'm nervous in interviews. You can just say, I've made this for you.
Well, that's a great way to say it. Yeah, definitely. That way, that doesn't put any doubt into their mind of
Yeah.
who you are. That gives them an extra layer of getting to know you directly. And I like that idea because I think so often that when we are all challenged with whether or not you communicate a lot or a little. Knowing what to say in an interview can really make you feel like you've got this.
Yeah.
And that's the whole idea is we don't want to feel like we're walking in and we're just a number. We want to walk in with confidence. And I hope you don't see that as ableist. I think if you go in as you and you take the background information, such as the binder, or you take a USB that says, I'd like to share this simple USB of a recording with you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Anything to make you feel stronger.
And I don't think that's ableist because I think that is universal. I think
Okay.
it's universally true that people are almost always nervous about interviews because it's the position. You want a job. They have the power to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
So we are all at wherever we are on the neurodiversity or neuro majority, we all get nervous at those times. So whatever you can do to give yourself confidence, do it.
Do it. Yeah, that's a big thing. And you also want to be going after jobs that you know you can flourish in.
Yes. Yes.
Because if
Not just
you're
every
going
job.
after a computer job and you hate computers, it's going to come out. If you go after a writing job and you really like to write sentences, you need to be you.
Yeah. And if you are trained in a certain area, like tech or computers, and you're looking at jobs, and most of them ask for a little something more than you've got, like they want 3 years experience and you've got 2.5 years experience, don't necessarily count yourself out because that might be what they want. But somebody else who's confident might say, well, I've only had 1 year experience, but I'm going to really pitch myself in the interview and I think they'll hire me anyway. They could get the job. So now, of course, if they say that they want a PhD level of whatever, and you've got a master's, you can go for it. But if you've got a high school diploma, then probably not.
Right.
If you can be close to what they're looking for and almost there, you might as well try, send in your application, and maybe they won't interview you, but maybe they will give you a chance.
That's important. And I'll tell you, there are a number of jobs I've been looking at recently. If this is not the job I want to keep forever, which
Yeah.
you never know.
Never know.
Life has so many things to offer, but I often wondered how close they want you to those uh, requirements.
Yeah. That might be their wish list, but they may not get a lot of good people that have applying that have all that going on.
So
So
it's never be afraid of going with what you have.
if you're close, if you're close, don't count yourself out. Just go ahead and try. If you're not close, if you don't have experience at all in what they want you to do, but you think you could learn, then maybe go learn it first, take a course or something, and then try again. But if you're close, if you're on the track and you've had some experience and some training, try it. See where you can go.
That brings up an interesting self story where my family's like, you've been in customer service all your life. You can be a receptionist. I haven't had any experience being a receptionist before. How can you think that I would get hired to be a receptionist just because I've been a customer service agent? And so I guess we have to wonder whether or not going with a different job title would still correlate.
Well, if you look at your strengths, talking to people, I mean, look, you've got a lot of experience in your podcast. That's talking to people. Customer service is serving people. What does a receptionist do? I mean, that's really it.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah,
Because I
if
always
you just tell them your strengths that And how, because those strengths do seem to align. I can see why your family was telling you you'd be a good receptionist. I think you would be.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I could be that at the schools, that's for sure. But anyway, Wendy, is there anything else that we should add into this very important topic? Because this is the gateway to people getting the work that they are able to do. And I don't want to see an interview get in the way.
Yeah. Well, you know, be prepared, be punctual, be polite, and be positive. You know, these
4 P's. There we go. Punctual. That's a big one.
it is.
Polite.
Yeah.
Another good one. Don't go in with your normal vocabulary if you think your vocabulary is questionable. So we have um punctual, polite. What's the next one? Oh,
Prepared.
prepared. Yes.
And what was the other? Positive.
Positive. Yes.
Positive. Yeah.
You bring those 4 P's in your briefcase or whatever you want to carry in
Yeah.
your purse,
Yeah. In your purse.
then
And,
you will show up to be someone who is equal.
and one more P. Portfolio.
Absolutely. Was that
Portfolio. That the binder, if you call it a portfolio,
portfolio?
then it's a P word.
Okay, I was putting that under prepared, but yes.
Oh yeah. It's yeah.
Portfolio would be excellent. Prepared might be dressed appropriately.
Yes. And do your homework on the company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So think of prepared more as emotional and intellectual prepared versus the binder is a hard piece of
Yeah.
evidence.
That's right.
So Wendy, I want to say thank you. Is there anything else we have left off today?
You know, my publishers would be disappointed if I didn't mention that I wrote a book.
Oh,
So,
please, yes.
oh, let's do it right side up. And I've got all my tabs of things we're going to talk about over the weeks. Working while autistic, thrive in a career you love. I really enjoyed writing this book. It's the 5th and last book in the Adulting While Autistic series. And I love talking to you about these topics every time we come and meet on the Aspie Bridge. I'm looking forward to next time.
Great. Is there a particular chapter about interviewing that you can tell our listeners?
You know, chapter 1, interview, it says, be yourself, but not like that. And if you've ever had people tell you, oh, be yourself, but then they don't like it if you make them uncomfortable. So this is about really being yourself and the different P's, you know, those are all in here.
There you go. Is there any particular acronym? You told us about your wonderful acronyms. Is there an acronym in that chapter that we should know
I have
about? We do have a
fun
few
with
extra
acronyms.
moments.
Well, it's got the 5 P's to be prepared, professional, punctual, positive, and provide a portfolio. Let me look and see if there's another one. No, it's not an acronym, it's just the P's. But if we ever talk about work ethic, did we talk about work ethic before?
We haven't, but we're going to do that, I believe, next week. But we can go ahead and start us off with a sneak peek into next week.
Okay, well, once you're hired, they're going to look for work ethic. Excuse me. And people say it's just about as hard as trying to herd cats. If you've heard that expression?
No,
So-
I haven't.
Okay. Oh, you haven't. Well, you know, cats do what they want. That you
Yes.
can't like herd them together like cattle or something. So we'll talk about herding cats, and that'll be our acronym, HE, and so on. But we'll talk about that next time.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about finding the ally.
Yes.
Finding the ally who will stand by your work ethics. And because I found that was one thing in my last job that made all the difference is she saw my work ethic, even if I wasn't meeting the standards. So finding that ally who will back up your work ethic, that will be next week.
Perfect. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Wendy, thank you for coming again to the
Oh.
Aspie Bridge. Always enjoy having you.
Thank you for having me. It's always a joy.
Wonderful. And we'll see you next week on the Aspie Bridge. Have a great week.
See you then. You too. Bye-bye.